All right. We're joined by friend of the show, college football betting expert Joshua Duck Nunn, one of the co-hosts over at the Big Bets on Campus podcast. Welcome to the show. Duck, thanks for coming on. Here's what I need to know. I'm an Indiana alum. We've been talking about this for weeks. I'm wearing Indiana t-shirts every single day this week. This entire season has been a surreal experience. Let's just say that the listeners on this show haven't watched college football or haven't listened to me crow about the Indiana Hoosiers at any point this year. Could you put what's happening here under Curt Cignetti into perspective for our audience?
In my opinion, he is pulling all of the right levers here at Indiana. He's a high culture guy. He's a high team first attitude coach. There's no egos in the locker room. He had a quote in the media about getting the right people on the bus, having the blueprint, having the vision, and then going out and making it happen. And I think Curt Cignetti has made good on all of that. He has removed any possible excuses in the current landscape of college football today for somebody rebuttaling being able to do a quick turnaround. If you just look at where Indiana was at 730 days ago, I went and looked at it. They were 3-9 and losing to Purdue. They were losing by 4 touchdowns at Maryland. It took quadruple overtime to beat Akron. For anyone listening in here, go back and rewind that and listen to that and let that sink in. It took 4 overtimes to defeat Akron. And now they're undefeated 15-0 and playing for the national championship. I will happily and proudly go on record and say that this is the greatest coaching job in the history of college athletics. What he's done at the University of Indiana, a program that is storied but didn't have a lot of success for many, many years. I mean, you can go back to the Mallory days before Indiana had really this level of success. And for them to be struggling when he took over so badly to now blowing the doors off of the traditional blue blood powerhouse programs, it is stunning. It is an immaculate coaching job.
Well, Doc, because I'm old, I was in Bloomington at IU for the Mallory days when we'd start off every season 4-0, and then Ohio State or Michigan would come to town and we'd all be psyched. And by halftime, it'd be 45-0. And me and my buddy Matt would be the only ones left in the stands, hanging on for dear life till the end of that game. So I remember the Mallory days well. And I always thought, like, those years, we were the best 6-5-1 team in the country every single year. What Curt Cignetti has done is so historic. I feel like he should already be in the college football Hall of Fame. This game, however, unusual situation. Hurricanes playing for a title in their home stadium. We actually asked the SVP of the Hard Rock Bet Sportsbook, Neil Walsh, because they're down in Florida. The only legal sportsbook in the state of Florida is Hard Rock Bet. We asked him to clarify like how they're baking that advantage, home field advantage, into the spread. I'm curious to get your take on this after I read his response, which is obviously the Miami program knows the locker rooms, the field, the routine. They're not looking at this, says Neil, as a true home game. The crowd will be mixed. Damn straight, I'll be there cheering for Indiana. The sideline isn't there. That was me, by the way, not Neil. The sideline isn't theirs. The environment is closer to a neutral site than a normal home date. Because of that, Neil says, we're assigning a smaller home field adjustment than usual when compared to some of the larger on-campus venues across college football. Miami and Hard Rock would not be considered one of the stronger home field advantages. And for a championship game, we estimate, says Neil, the edge at about 2 points compared to 3 or 4 in a standard home game. Does that level up with your expectations?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a sharp take, and I think it's an appropriate take. You look at Miami historically, and they don't have a tremendous home field atmosphere. Their campus isn't, or excuse me, the stadium isn't on campus. Miami culturally in sports has a problem with people showing up on time and kind of getting the environment to where it needs to be anyway in a multitude of different sports. And this is not going to be akin to going into Ohio State Stadium or the Big House or Alabama or somewhere like that, where it's going to feel like a really hostile environment. And now you put the stage at the national championship setting, and you're going to have a huge constituent of Indiana fans. I feel very strongly that this will not feel like a Miami home game.
I'm going to say, having been in Atlanta last week, knowing Indiana's alumni base is literally the largest in the world, more than 800,000 alumni, knowing this team, these fans are traveling, and knowing how thirsty they are and desperate they are and how much everyone is enjoying this run, Hoosiers are going to show out in Miami.
I would say, just like all games, I think zero effect will be done by the fans. It's all about the coaching, right? What you just talked about, Duck. It's a coaching difference here, in my opinion. That's what most pro bettors are talking about. This Cignetti seems like respected to bettors. He's the best coach you could possibly have for this game. And, all the people waiting for, Duck, what is your favorite bets for this game? Everyone wants to know.
I mean, I looked into this pretty extensively, and I ended up getting to the window and laying it with Indiana here. I looked at a couple of different metrics and a couple of different things that, these are two top 15 teams, two very good college football teams. And so you're trying to find out these minute differences which could decide the game. For me, there's a discipline discrepancy. Miami is the fifth most heavily penalized team in the entire country. Indiana has the 10th fewest penalties accepted against them and the 6th fewest penalty yards assessed against them. I look at Indiana's red zone defense. They had only surrendered 6 red zone touchdowns all season before the Oregon game. The margin was so wide. There was a little bit of garbage time in that Oregon game, which caused some red zone scoring for the Ducks, but just 34% touchdowns surrendered on the season for Indiana with their defense in the red zone. So with the field compressed, with throwing lanes and receiving windows so minuscule, I worry about Miami being able to produce in the red zone at a level that's going to be necessary to seriously threaten to win this game or stay within the number. And then lastly, a forgotten element of football is special teams. Massive edge for Indiana. Their special teams composite rankings are 5th nationally compared to 49th for Miami. Indiana's better in the trenches. They're such a better tackling team. They're better disciplined. I think in situations where they have to have it, their execution will rise above Miami's. And Miami has had times this season where they've gone through stretches where they've been undisciplined, which either thwarts their offensive drives or it continues the drive against their defense for the opponent. And I think that in a game of this magnitude between two great teams with good athletes all over the field, that's what it's going to come down to. So I'm not afraid of the big number here. I laid the 8.5 with Indiana.
Well, it's interesting, Simon, you said the other day you were going to take the outline at 13.5. So I like hearing Duck completely independently going in the same direction. We asked Hard Rock Bet for info from their trading team about where the action is coming in right now. And Hard Rock Bet sent us a ton of information. They're the only legal sports book in Florida. So it's a very good lens into the market. And from an against the spread perspective, no surprise, because it is the only legal sports book in Florida, 62% of the bets, 68% of the money on Miami, plus 8.5. About a third of the game handle was on the Hurricanes money line, 1 in every 4 bets on the game. So by far, it's their most popular bet. Again, not that surprising given that it's a legal sports book in the state of Florida. Although a lot of sharp bettors in the state of Florida. As we've been saying all year, we've seen some sharp lines coming out of Hard Rock. So if Miami pulled off the upset, not great for Hard Rock. They're rooting for a big Indiana win. Best case scenario, Indiana by 9 and the over. For those asking, Hard Rock has taken one bet that's by far the biggest bet, a 6-figure bet from a respected player on Indiana, but it was at -6.5, -130. A lot of interest from sharp bettors on the Hoosiers in the early going on this game. Final question for you, Duck. Exotic wagers you'd recommend?
Yeah, so there's a couple here, and I'll go through them real quickly. Charlie Becker, the receiver for Indiana, number 80, over 2.5 receptions. He has been such a reliable third option in this offense, with most of the attention being given to Omar Cooper and Elijah Surratt. If you look at Becker, he had 2 catches in each of the 2 playoff games, but Indiana was wiping the floor with Alabama and Oregon. And over the last 2 games, they've run the ball 90 times as opposed to just 36 passing attempts. But if you look at when Indiana, the rare circumstances when they were in kind of gotta have it mode. Penn State game, Becker had 7 receptions for 118 yards. The Ohio State game in the Big Ten Championship, 6 catches for 126 yards. Only 2 in each of the playoff games, but I do think that this game will certainly be closer than 35 points with a lot of garbage time in the second half. So I don't expect that here. And I think Indiana will have some situations where they will have to have it. And Becker is such an outlet and such a trusted outlet for Mendoza. So with his reception total at 2.5, I like over. I also think if you're kind of feeling a little bit frisky and you want to do something fun with the first quarter, I do like the first quarter under. And I do think that there's going to be a significant feeling out process from both of these opponents that are unfamiliar with each other. So I would not be surprised to see Indiana first drive punt, Miami first drive punt, and that rolls into a first quarter under. So you can kind of throw all 3 of those together in a parlay, get about 4.5 to 1. So punt, first quarter under, and then it's game on from there. So I kind of like that as well.
Nice. I like that a lot. All right. Joshua Nunn, a.k.a. Duck, on Twitter, at Step on a Duck. Catch him on the Big Bets on Campus podcast. Thanks for all the intel, the info. The Hoosier Nation supports your choices.
Let's go. It's going to be a fun game. We'll be singing the Indiana song together, guys. Have a great day.
Hoosiers! Everybody knows, if you're listening to the show, that I am an IU alum. Go IU, fight, fight, fight. I will be in the building Monday night when the Hoosiers take on the Miami Hurricanes in the college football national championship game at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens, the fabulous Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens. You also know the best place to stay. One of the hotels closest to the stadium, the awesome, the cool, the incomparable Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Hollywood, Florida. The Guitar Hotel lives up to the hype. I know it. I've stayed there. I've played there. I've wanted to move in there and never leave. I've eaten to my gluttonous content at that hotel. Good times, good food, and of course, full casino, full sports book. Makes you want to skip all the nearby Florida beaches. Thanks to our friends at Hard Rock. I am going to the game this weekend. I'll be roaming around the casino and the sports book. If you're there, say hello. When I'm not there, I'm going to be using the top-rated Hard Rock Bet app to hammer the Hoosiers. It is the only legal sportsbook app available in the state of Florida. They got tons of betting markets already live.